れが開拓者魂だ!
Welcome back. Fino here with a guide for the Rio Berserker. For some reason her name isn't revealed in advance despite being extremely explicit in her character bio, but whatever, I'll play along for a few days. Cultural icon Polly B is a 1-star welfare buster berserker. She's from the new event, and spoilers, one of my most used is servants on JP. Let's take a closer look, though I'm writing this one before skill names are revealed, so those are subject to change. Skill 1 is Happy Comrades. This gives a party-wide buster and crit damage buff. As we'll see later on, this is a big part of PB's appeal over her 1-star nemesis Spartacus. Skill 2 is Lake of Bean Soup. It's a party-wide heal capping out at 2k. Not very useful all things concerned. 2k might take a weakened ally out of one-shot range, but it doesn't do a lot for Polly B, who's always one crit away from death. If you want to save on materials and QP, not that it costs much, you can skip this in favor of the other two abilities. Speaking of which, Skill 3 is Storm of Popcorn. This reduces the defense of all enemies and has healing effectiveness at max rank. That second part is pretty niche, but it has a 5-turn duration which is impressive for an on-demand debuff. For challenge quests against regenerating enemies, Polly B can show up, debuff, and die for almost no deployment cost. Axe Murderer's Noble Phantasm is Marvelous Exploits, which is an AoE buster attack that reduces defense. The defense reduction is modest, but it helps your cleanup cards which, as we're about to see, you'll have to think carefully about. I'll note that Marvelous Exploits has one of, if not the fastest animation in the game. Pretty handy when you're hard farming an event where every second counts. Polly B is a supportive attacker geared heavily towards wave clear, but with some follow-up potential. I've made a few teams for the occasion, so let's take a look at those. I probably use this the most of any team in FGO because of its sheer versatility and cost efficiency. Now the big issue is that you need at least 2 K-scopes to make this work. That or 1 K-scope and a limit broken imaginary element. The idea is that Arasha NPs on turn 1, dies, brings in Waver, who charges PB, she pops her buster buff and kills wave 2. Then Waver caps out Raiko, she pops her buff, Bunyan drops her defense debuff, 5 of a kind, everyone dies. And if a boss enemy survives, Raiko has a shitload of stars and 2 crit buffs to finish them off. Depending on enemy health values, you can adjust the timing of Polly B's buffs for clean kills. For instance, if Arasha's having trouble, she can pop her buster buff 1 turn early so he gets it. And if Bunyan is having trouble with wave 2, she can commit the defense buff early. It's a huge amount of flexibility for a supportive attacker. This team is amazing when you have 2 or fewer event drop CEs, otherwise it lets you run greedy bond farming backlines with 5-star servants Chaldea at lunchtime and Chaldea at tea time. For lazy boys like me, it's like playing FGO on easy mode. One problem with Arash is that he needs a starting charge CE to do much of anything, but when you're farming nodes with bronze enemy first waves, there's another option. Nitocris is really good at killing bronze enemies with her instant death NP, which she can use entirely unassisted thanks to her 100% battery. This frees up her CE slot for something event relevant, and with Plug Suit you can switch her out to charge the other 2. Of course, the problem is that running a 4-star over a 1-star is the increase in deployment cost. In event farming setups, you could run several 5-star craft essences, and this will really put the squeeze on you. Polly B is thankfully a very good pick for this scenario as her 1-star cost balances out Nito and Raiko, at least to an extent. One of the perks of this team is that Plug Suit's attack buff helps to pad PB's damage for cleaner runs. NPs are gross. They take forever and I have to edit out the white screen of doom every damn time. Delightworks won't obey their master Rio and give us an NP skip, so we're stuck doing the next best thing. I've assembled servants with comically short NP animations, and we've got 2 setups. The first can actually farm with K-scopes and is probably the fastest Ember team you can assemble. Darius and Eric both have quick, low-budget NPs that do their thing and fuck off fast. Easy peasy, just roll 15 K-scopes. The second is Speed over Substance. The Saber Gill is an extremely fast NP, so if your goal is to get through an NP chain quickly, he's your man. The more controversial pick is Hyde. He has no NP. Dangerous Game literally does nothing as Hyde. In fact, the game won't even let you pick it. This gives Hyde's Dangerous Game a technical runtime of 0 seconds. Now if you think that's bullshit, consider Kojiro, whose Suba Megaishi is extremely fast, like on the same tier as Bunyan and Gill. Just be advised that my calculations are approximate, and there's not a clear database on NP animation lengths. Maybe a project for another day. Moving on to CEs, Polly B really wants to minimize her exposure. You can opt for a defensive pick like Volume and Dredgerum, but I prefer starting charge in K-scope. For a final pick, I'd suggest Golden Catches the Carp. 50% starting charge is a bit low for PB, but the stars synergize with her crit buff and low absorption, which sets up a different ally for success. As a 1-star servant, Polly B has some pretty interesting advantages and challenges. Her rarity comes with a low cost, not just in deployment, but also in skill materials. The only item you need in bulk are chains with 24 per skill. That's doable. On the flip side, she has a 1-star stat line, which means her max damage ain't great. On top of this, she has a very aggressive distribution with high attack, beating out Babbage, but critically low health. lowest in the game. She's not a glass cannon, she's a paper-mache cannon, a battering ram of tissue boxes. Brawling with Poly B is a perilous affair, and I'd avoid it when you can. This extreme fragility is a problem, but her 1-star level cap is the bigger issue. Every servant wants attack foes, but Poly B is effectively useless without them, like struggles to clear 40 AP hands. This brings me to a really tough sell. Any realistic application for PB requires you to grail her, at least once. And this is the part where everyone flexes their grailed Medusa lilies or some other weird shit, cause you can't talk about stat efficiency without that crowd showing up for a tut-tut. The good news is that, as a 1-star servant, PB gets 10 levels off the first grail. That'll give her a huge jump in effectiveness, and, with some careful skill usage, be enough for a decent amount of farming. If you want to go full brain dead like me, you'll want to invest another 2 and get level 80. Maybe 2 more for 90. At 90 I can definitely tell you that event farming is going to be a piece of cake. I think the first time I encountered consistent trouble was during the pre-Lost Belt 4 hunting quests. Those enemies had some serious health inflation, but as far as I've seen, they're the exception, not the rule. If for whatever reason you want to hoard grails but don't care about 4-star foes, Poly B is a good target for 2k attack. As a berserker, those stats go a lot further on her than with other classes. As a whole, Poly B is a deceptively strong servant. She gives you a ton of utility in deployment cost and P speed, and party-wide damage augmentation. However, this comes at the cost of needing a kaleidoscope and a grail to really see her true power. That's going to be a pretty big hurdle for a lot of you, but if you're willing to take the plunge, you'll find that she's a lot more versatile than her main competition Spartacus, who's saddled with a very selfish kit. And that's speed. My god. PB is a farming machine, and if you're in a position to grind out bones, half AP dailies, or free quests, her ridiculous speed translates into huge efficiency gains. I enjoy playing JP in a fairly brain-dead manner, and Poly B's become one of my favorite practical servants. If that style appeals to you, then give her some thought. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, by all means like, subscribe, and consider that join button to get perks like access to a special Discord channel where I hang out and all the weird shit happens. It's like a Twitch sub for people who don't swing that way. Anyway, I'll see you next time.